Hey everybody, this is Arthur. I'm coming live once again via Facebook Live to just share some other thoughts. Hey everybody, this is Arthur. Glad to be coming live again with everybody. I hope that this video won't take as long. A lot of great stuff is happening for mass resistance, for the other stuff I've been doing. So I promise this video is definitely not going to be an hour. I just want to share some other thoughts. I want to share some other insights, especially about the upcoming election and also other issues I think that we should be pressing to happen in our state legislatures to the extent that you can make it happen. So my previous video got some pretty good responses from people. I There was one comment I remember. I wanted to talk about that briefly. So I just want to get that in front of me so I can take a better look at that. But at any rate, I think it's really important. I know that there are strong feelings on many sides of this about what's going to happen with the election, and I recognize that there's always going to be those challenges. For me, I'm still really sticking with, Governor DeSantis. I'm really thrilled with one of the latest updates that has occurred. This is really exciting stuff. The fourth largest school district in the country is Miami-Dade County, and that right there in southeastern Florida. And that would make it, by and large, the fourth largest labor union in the country is the Miami-Dade Union. And that teachers union has failed to meet the threshold to recertify. 60% of the members have to vote to recertify. Only 58% did. This is a huge win for us because to me the teachers unions are the fifth column that is just creating so much of the problems and the corruption and the destruction in this country. And when you have the fourth largest teachers union collapsing like this, I'm really hoping that this is going to send shockwaves across the country, that this shows a big transition in the right direction for dealing with school choice, education norms, education innovation. But most importantly, labor unions are some of the most robust, regressive interest groups in the country. They're pushing all the LGBT stuff. They're pushing all the CRT stuff. They're the ones that are pushing all of this corruption on our kids. They're the ones that are normalizing all of this corruption and destruction. Even here in Torrance, California, I still have parents that are contacting me that are trying to deal with really bad teachers that are pushing all kinds of crap on their kids. It's really difficult to expose and end this corruption. Teachers have tenure. The teachers' unions are very powerful. They put a lot of pressure on the school boards, the superintendents, and on the city in general. You look at what's happening in Los Angeles Unified, which I think is the largest school district in the country. Los Angeles Unified, they are completely communist. They support all kinds of destructive, regressive, vile things. Everything from, demonizing Israel to pushing, full socialism. They want single-payer health care. They want to defund the police. Why have teachers' unions embrace all of these corrupt, evil ideas and practices? Aren't they supposed to focus on helping teachers get better wages, have better support in the classroom? It just goes to show they've turned into a fifth column, undermining this country. Teachers' unions need to be shut down. Teachers should be able to collaborate and form associations, but as collective bargaining units, I think it's all wrong. Public sector unions should not exist. That includes police officers unions, firefighter unions. They don't negotiate directly with the taxpayers. They don't. This is a whole huge issue. Just referring back to my previous video, Scott Walker was my first choice for president. I liked him. Big reason is that he beat down big labor in their own backyard right there in Wisconsin. And now Governor DeSantis has done the same thing, and his reforms are even better. Because in Wisconsin, if 51% of the teachers wanted to, or any other workers wanted to recertify, then the union would have another year. But the threshold is higher in Florida. And so now you've got a lot of the unions are shutting down. So that's going to be an end to a lot of the grooming, the indoctrination, and the abuse. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, I really wanted to share my thoughts when it comes to the Trump versus DeSantis issue. I have a good friend of mine. He left a comment yesterday on my previous video, and I wanted to read the entire thing and comment on this. I think this deserves a full response my presence, my voice. So his comment was, first of all, running a state is totally different from running a country. I totally agree. And the fact is that every person who runs for president is automatically underqualified because none of them have run a country before, unless you're the incumbent. Well, we got Joe Biden and he's doing an awful job. But I mean, Donald Trump, he was never even in elected office. He ran businesses, but running a business is not running a country either. The mechanics of government, the wisdom and the skill when it comes to statescraft is a very specific, difficult set of skills. It's not easy to not only have a bold vision, but ensure that you can enact that vision. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to work, even if the legislature is controlled by the same political party, there are so many diverse interests, even opposing interests, that can frustrate your agenda. Keep in mind that Governor DeSantis wanted constitutional carry, but the legislature from 2019 until 2023 still had a lot of rhinos that were propped up by Bloomberg's money. So that frustrated a lot of gun right expansion, but he was finally able to get constitutional carry this year because new Republicans came in. So granted, Ron DeSantis has, running a country is different from running a state. Well, that challenge is true for every candidate because none of them have been president before. But you want to have somebody whose experience and whose skill set will best mirror an executive of a large government entity. And the next best thing from president itself is governor. Governor Scott Walker even said it. When you're running for president, you're running for governor and you want it for an entire country, or you specifically tailor your message. You're running for governor appealing to key states because those are the swing states. You want to get their support. So that is true. Running a state is not the same as running a country, but it is the best training to prepare for the next step in being president. Dealing with politics, dealing with corruption, dealing with legality issues, showing the proper use of executive power, and Governor DeSantis has done that really well. The second statement he makes, Trump has proved himself as president. Well, it's a mixed bag at best. One thing is for sure, if it's Trump versus Biden, we're going to have two people who have already shown 4 years of presidential leadership. Now, as much as Joe Biden is absolutely terrible, and certainly things would be better if Trump had gotten reelected or if he was allowed to be back in the state, back in the White House, the fact of the matter is that he's not there. The fact is that he allowed the election to be stolen, and the fact is that there are key promises that he did not fulfill. You're going to have 4 years of Trump where he got some of the stuff done, but most of it he didn't get done, plus all of the other issues, like bringing in his family to be his key advisors. This is something we can't ignore. Now, people can say, well, Joe Biden's the same thing. But here's the problem. Regardless of what the polls say, if Trump gets elected again, he's going to be a lame duck from day one, and he is somebody who has doubled down on all of his mistakes. He has doubled down on all of the bad decisions. He brags about locking the country down. He brags about pushing the vaccine, even when he's been confronted about it. He hasn't backed away from this. I don't want more of the same. Granted, I understand that everything was cheaper. We didn't have inflation. We had lower taxes and we had cheap gas. But a lot of voters are so turned off by Trump, Republicans as well as independents and Democrats. I don't see him winning the general election. I don't think he's going to make it this time. I mean, he didn't win the last time because they stole it, and he didn't take serious efforts in August and September of 2020 to stop the abuse of universal mail-in balloting, to stop the legal lawfare that had been declared against the several states regarding how they issued votes, how they collected the votes, etc. You've got Joe Biden, who's terrible, and then you've got Donald Trump, who's also he's like slightly less terrible. And I can tell you that a lot of people are just going to go with the devil that they know now rather than the devil that they knew and all of the hoopla that went with it. A lot of voters are not as attuned and active the way that we are, that activists and grassroots groups are. So there's that. And I would have to say Trump has not proven himself as president. He did not keep promises. He did not show diligence as an executive. He did not protect this country during the George Floyd riots, etc. He has not proven it. Governor DeSantis has a better record as governor, and I'm okay with that. The third comment he made is, it is not DeSantis' time. DeSantis will not win, and you know it. Actually, we don't know it. We expected to have a huge red wave, a red tsunami, and it didn't happen. Nothing is for certain until the votes are counted in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, etc. The second thing is, it's not DeSantis' time. That kind of rhetoric, that kind of thinking has no real value. A primary exists so that different candidates can step forward, run, and make their case. We are a democratic republic, or a constitutional republic with democratic elements. And everybody has the right to run. I don't believe in coronations. We are governed by principles, not princes. I love the comment that Congressman Chip Roy had made at an Iowa event. There's something else here. DeSantis will not win. Trump is hated because they know Trump loves this country and its people. I don't doubt that Trump loves people and he cares about the country, but I do find that he cares about himself a lot more. I mentioned in my last video, there was a lot of pardons he could have issued and he didn't do it. Furthering his own interest is still number one. If he really cared about this country, he would not have signed off on the CARES Act. He would not have locked down the country. He would have not gone along with the COVID stuff. But here's the key comment I definitely wanted to respond to. Many of us feel DeSantis is backstabbing Trump. Trump helped DeSantis get elected. Okay, that goes to the whole loyalty issue. And I didn't talk about that last time, and I want to talk about it this time. I am so tired. I am so tired of people telling me that DeSantis is disloyal. Okay, I'm so tired of voters, Trump voters, current Trump supporters saying, you have to support Trump, you need to be loyal. Laura Loomer was boasting on her debate with Bill Mitchell on Timcast, and she was saying, I'm loyal. You're disloyal, because she's still supporting Trump. And my first thought is, Laura Loomer isn't loyal to Trump, she's loyal to her meal ticket. It's all grift. She has made money, she has a personality, she has a media presence because of all the stuff she did for Trump. If Trump doesn't make it as the nominee, her career as an influencer, as a media grifter is over. That's what's really at stake for her. It's not about Trump, it's about the money. And it's also about whatever esteem issues or sense of relevance or meaning she has or does not have. Second of all, I'm a citizen of the United States. We are the leaders in this country. We're supposed to be. The Constitution starts with we the people. It doesn't start with we the president or we the political party. I don't owe any politician my loyalty. Politicians owe us their loyalty. And if you want to talk about loyalty, I go back to how Trump betrayed us by not building the wall, by not draining the swamp, by shutting down the country, by going after red states that insisted on reopening, even when the federal government and all the federal bureaucrats whom Trump empowered told the states not to. Georgia, Florida, South Dakota, even Iowa, they opened up quickly. They pushed back against the federal mandates, guidelines, and directives. So don't give me that nonsense. Trump promised to lock up Hillary Clinton. He promised to appoint a special prosecutor, and he didn't do it. Don't tell me about loyalty. I don't owe him loyalty. He did not keep his promises. He did not follow through on his promises. He violated our trust. Okay? And the last thing, of course, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. He's in Mar-a-Lago and he celebrates the Disrespect for Marriage Act. He's LARPing it up with or laughing it up with the log cabin Republicans. That is a massive betrayal. And even before that, there was a so-called Pride Coalition announcement also at Mar-a-Lago, where RNC chair Ronna McDaniel, who's absolutely terrible, yet was behind the scenes propped up by Trump, they wanted to do a so-called LGBT outreach. The last thing that we need is two homosexual parties, two cultural Marxist political parties. This is wrong. That was a huge betrayal. That's a betrayal to the country. That's a betrayal to the Christians. That's a betrayal to natural law, natural right, and our Constitution. So spare me this argument about loyalty. We don't owe any politician our loyalty, and Trump did not fulfill his promises. He was not loyal to us. And this other thing, Trump helped DeSantis get elected. You know what? Trump also helped Rick Scott get elected. Trump's job when he was president, he was the head of the party. It's his job to help every Republican get elected. And by the way, on that note, we have seen Republicans suffering staggering losses, 2018, 2020, and even in 2022. And part of it has been the broken and busted Trump brand, which is focusing on grievance rather than focusing on vision. Okay, and I think that was a big part of the problem. Trump propped up all these terrible candidates because of his vanity, and they lost big time at governor's races, U.S. Senate races, you name it. And we had such a very poor performance. We should have had a much larger margin of House reps, in the Republican majority, and that did not happen. Another part of his comment: our payback to the Communist Democratic Party is to get Trump elected because they stole the election. Yes, they stole the election, but Trump allowed them to do it. Trump signed off on the CARES Act. Trump allowed for the universal mail-in balloting. Trump had opened up a commission into election integrity. This was in 2017. He started it, and then he shut it down. He did next to nothing. It was negligible. And he did nothing in 2018 to deal with the ballot harvesting schemes that had become legal here in California. Kevin McCarthy did nothing about it. And that same Kevin McCarthy was the guy that Trump prompted and puffed up to be the Speaker of the House, even though he couldn't get votes until the 15th round. Trump is going to win. DeSantis should have waited until Trump's second term. See, again, we're not a dynasty. We're not. We don't coronate. We elect. And that means that nobody is guaranteed anything. And I wrote about this earlier this year. That way we have a Republican-run country for 12 years guaranteed instead of a DeSantis 4 years. Well, see, if DeSantis gets elected, he'll be eligible for 8 years. So that doesn't make sense to me. And here's the last comment. It's not DeSantis' turn. He will lose against Trump. I am so sick and tired of hearing about it's not your turn, it's not your turn. That is not an argument. And those comments did not respond in any way, shape, or form to the substantive criticisms that I've made of Donald Trump and why he is not a good candidate anymore, and why I'm joining with Steve Deace and Ann Coulter and a whole bevy of state legislators and other grassroots organizers across this country. I'm supporting Ron DeSantis. Governor DeSantis, I think, is a better candidate. Primaries are about choosing the best candidate. I get to choose. If you don't believe in choice, I can't help you there. Elections are about choices and consequences. And here's the last thing. I hold no ill will towards my friend who says I'm still supporting Trump. I have no ill will against him. If Trump is the nominee, I'm willing to kind of take a back seat and let things play out. Hey, I think Trump would be marginally better than Biden. I don't think he's great. I think based on his previous 4 years, he's not going to do a very good job for the next 4 years. I don't see him actually accomplishing much. He's going to be hit with more legal issues. He's going to have criminal issues to deal with. On top of that, he's going to be a lame duck. On top of that, there's going to be so much pushback. Plus the fact that his own vanity and his own myopic lack of vision is just going to, what we're going to do is slow the decline. We're just going to manage the decline. I want a president who's going to restore the country. We need to stop talking about conservatism. We need to talk about restoration. Our country needs to be restored. We need to restore our constitutional norms. We need to restore our Judeo-Christian heritage. We need to restore our Anglo-American legal tradition. We need to restore the principles, the precepts, the creeds that this country was founded upon. We need to talk about restoration, and Trump doesn't have that vision. Trump doesn't have that acumen, that he doesn't have that drive anymore, and he makes excuses for the stuff he didn't get done. He lies about why he couldn't finish stuff when it was perfectly within his power to build the wall and to get Mexico to pay for it. He blames the pro-life movement when we should actually think about recalibrating the message to save more babies rather than just say, hey, the Supreme Court overturned a decision, let's move on. Last of all, this is probably the first time in memory where I've made phone calls for a presidential candidate. Not even for Trump. I didn't even help Trump with phone calls. I was busy doing other stuff locally. But I've made phone calls for DeSantis. That's how much I believe in his message and his campaign, and I want him to win. But at the same time, it's not the end of the world if he doesn't win the nomination. And his record is legendary, exemplary, and has been very effective. And if he just ends up finishing out his term as governor, his second term as governor, I anticipate and look forward to and expect him to accomplish more incredible reforms. I want to see him expanding school choice. I want to see him making Florida a Second Amendment sanctuary. I want to see the end to same-sex marriage, quote unquote. I want to see real efforts to restore natural law. I think he has the opportunity to get that done, and all of us should be expecting that. That's something that gets me, that makes me very happy. That's something that excites me, at the very least, seeing real policy goals accomplished at all levels of government. If we can't get the federal government back in the next 4 years, we should look at the states and the people and see them take their power back. And no matter what happens, Governor DeSantis has an incredible record of accomplishment that will stand the test of time. Whether he gets to advance that agenda in the White House or not is up to the voters. But I just wanted to share these other thoughts with everybody. I might have some other things I say before the end of the year. I'm very grateful that I can share everything with you. Let me see. I got some comments. Wow, people are watching. I like this. We don't have any choices. Who would you vote for? Okay, thanks everybody. I won't name names, but I'll respond. Not that it matters, they will steal. If you think the election is going to be stolen, then why even vote? But see, I don't believe the election has to be stolen. If you have more votes, you can have enough people casting votes and have enough legal authority or oversight that you can stop the steal. I really believe that. We've had votes, we've had ballot initiatives that were going to expand school bonds in the state of California. They lost by double digits. The initiative to repeal Prop 209 and to reinstate racism in hiring practices in this state, that failed by double digits. When you have double-digit wins at the ballot box, you can't voter fraud your way out of that, or they can't undermine that with voter fraud. We had a handful of Republican victories in the congressional delegation, and they were very close, like John Duarte up in the Modesto area. Nobody expected that. So voter fraud can be overcome, even ballot harvesting. And if people follow the SoCal model that Sean Steele has developed, lots of churches, charities, and small businesses can and should get involved in ballot harvesting in California and help their candidates win. Okay, so this is really good. I'm glad I could share that. Let me see. DeSantis reminds me of Obama's first run. Nice, good-looking man, sweet talking. You see, I don't. That to me, that just shows people are in another universe. Ron DeSantis is not. I don't find him to be pristine. I do find him to be basically articulate and thorough and effective. He is refreshing, not necessarily riveting, and that's fine. I'm not looking for a stylish car salesman. I want a president. And the funny thing too, she mentions Obama's first run. Obama got elected in 2008. That was his first run for president. So that's, if you think that DeSantis reminds you of Obama, then you're saying he's going to be the nominee and get elected. I'm okay with that. I give Trump props because he was fighting against the elites and was not ever a politician. He is a politician. He got elected, so let's get rid of that nonsense. And second of all, he didn't fight. He caved over and over again. There were 3 awful budget bills, and he caved on all of them. He allowed worse immigration metrics within those bills. 2019 was the worst. And he signed off on this stuff. When ICE was going to accomplish key raids in different parts of the country, Ken Cuccinelli, what his immigration czar, reports that Trump told them to pull back. Trump did not repeal DACA right away either. I even wrote about this for Town Hall. I went after him and said he should have repealed DACA day one. He talked about how he has a heart for those illegals. If you're illegal, you're illegal. You need to be deported. I don't care if you've been here for 2 years, 22, or you've been here all your life except when you were born in another country. If you're illegal, you got to go. And he needed to follow through on that. Someone says, I am wrong on this one. Again, no argument, no reason why. I will be voting for Trump. I would rather win than lose. I suspect we're going to lose if Trump's the nominee. Hey, I hope I'm wrong. But even if he does win, I don't see him having a winning 4 years. He will be a lame duck. He has not learned from his mistakes. He has no interest in doing so. And I think he'll just surround himself with more sycophants who will flatter him and undermine his agenda. So those are some other comments right there. But the general theme that I keep finding in people who push back on me, they don't respond to my criticisms with evidence. They can't refute the fact that Trump locked the country down. That was wrong. They can't refute the fact that Trump didn't finish the agenda. They can't refute the fact that Trump surrounds himself with rhinos like Lindsey Graham, who puff him up and flatter him. They blow smoke up his butt, and then they turn right around and undermine his agenda. No one has refuted that. They have to concede all of my criticisms are valid. But, well, I've already gone about 30 minutes. Let me save it for another video why I think, in a reasonable, understandable sense, why people are still holding on to Trump. I don't agree with them. I think it's a mistake, but there is a reason why. I don't think that people are less integrated or less emotionally stable or that there's something wrong with them. But I do want to address the issue and why that kind of thinking or their approach is not helping the country, why there has to be a different attitude towards politics, a more grounded or a different. Well, I'll get into details in it later. This will be the end of my video. I appreciate everybody watching. There were a couple more comments. Let me respond. Trump's not my savior. Jesus is. I'm voting for America. Trump is self-centered. Thank you. I'm glad you agree with that. We're not voting for a saint. We're not voting for a pastor. And I think that's something else we need to talk about. I think part of our political process is flawed because we keep thinking if we just get the right person elected, it's going to solve all our problems. Even if Trump was able to accomplish, if it was true that he was only frustrated by every other element, if he had wise personnel, if he had relied on every legal strategy possible, I do recognize that there are still problems that this country is facing that even Governor DeSantis cannot fix. I'll talk about those in a later video. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate your time.